All right, everyone. Welcome once again to the Faces of Business. I am your host, Damon Postolka, and I am happy today because I am so excited for our guests. We have Mark Iorio here with BCAT Partners, and we are going to be talking about aligning your team for better engagement and value. Mark, welcome.
Thanks, Damon. Great to be with you, my friend.
It's going to be an awesome day. Awesome day.
Yep, for
So,
sure.
Mark,
Thank you.
you have got an incredible background.
Thank
You're with BCAT Partners now. You're helping people align their teams with your systems, your processes that you guys use there. It's just good stuff. But we always like to start back and really understand your background and how you got into doing what you're doing today.
you. Yeah, I mean, I started a business back in 1987 after working for a large corporation for a number of years and then going into the printing world. I started the business in 87, Damon, and I guess at around 2000, 2001, it was mostly marketing communication. So it was always external communications. I knew nothing about internal communications. And
Mm-hmm.
one of our clients at the time, it was AAA Mid Atlantic. So that was the typical AAA roadside assistance. They
Yeah.
were a fairly large client of ours, and they called us in and asked us to take a look at their internal brand, their internal marketing. And we had about 35, 40 people at the time. We grew it up to about 85 people. But at the time, um, I said to Bill Harris, who was the managing director of marketing, I've got to learn more about what internal branding is. So we went around the country. We went to these conferences put on by the Advanced Learning Institute on internal branding and really started to learn a lot about what it meant to become a brand ambassador and understand the whole idea of brand and the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we came back and we built this entire curriculum, using best practices and so on about delivering on a brand promise. And so we went through a 2.5, 3 year journey with this client and started to sell more of these programs. And it was very tedious work. It took a lot of time. You started to interview 20, 30, 40, 50 people and then gather up all of their responses, go into a little conference room at our office or a war room or whatever, and start to write down on these flip charts some of the common threads that you heard. But that process took forever. It was really a
Mm-hmm.
long and tedious process. And I guess about 11 years ago, I met my business partner, Al Cini, who was working for NBC Universal in New York City doing audience research. And Al had a background. He was a Vanderbilt University graduate, and he had a background in social psychology. And he had worked on this 4-factor model that they had designed at NBC on audience research. And so he was using that, a very early version of BCAT. And when he and I got together, we renamed it Brand and Culture Alignment Technology. And I can explain the process and how it works, but that's kind of how we got there. And that was 11 years ago, and 230 companies later, we're doing well.
Nice.
Yeah.
So out of necessity, you kind of built a solution to help do what you do a little bit easier.
Yeah, a lot easier actually. It's so like all of us, Damon, we've all had people in our lives that we emulate, that are role models, right?
Yeah.
People that we love, care about, we might dress like, we speak like, we may act like, behave like, or whatever. And this model is very, very much like that. So we ask these teams or these corporations to imagine their entire team as though it were a single person doing its best work on its best day to deliver all of its promises and achieve all of its goals. And our model, our survey is 15 minutes. It's you select words in that survey that best describe this team that you're working for. You can't be wrong. It's just your interpretation of what the team looks like to you. And the 4 factors are teams that are more oriented around innovation, transformation, creativity, outside the box thinking, or teams that are a little bit more driven, resolute in what they do, more about deadlines and so on, or teams that are more analytical, precision based, expert in what they do. Or
Mm-hmm.
the 4th area is teams that are more harmonious. They follow the rules, treat people very fairly, and so on. No one's any better than anyone else. And like these personality profiles that we've done in our lives, like DISC or
Mm-hmm.
MBTI, Myers Briggs, or even Hogan, we are a combination of things. Teams are a combination of those factors, those 4 factors. And every person gets plotted on the scattergram, the quadrant. And then we take an average of where they all landed, and we start doing a series of workshops as to where they believe they ought to go, aspire to go in the future. What is their purpose? Who are they when they're doing their best work on their best day? And when they land there, we then start to build out a group of aligned inspirations, we call them, or commandments, call them whatever you'd like. But they're basically behaviors as to how we all act. And then the last step is that we pass around a professional alignment plan form, which is a commitment that each person makes that can help migrate the culture of the organization toward this purpose or North Star. And they do that, what can I do every day? There are 4 things on that form. There's an accountability partner. So if you and I work together, I say, hey, Damon, this is my commitment based on where we landed as an organization. I try to align with that. What knobs in my head do I need to change? In other words, I may come to work as a person who is demanding, wants to get things done, but I work for an analytical company. So I've got to sort of turn up the analytical side of my brain so that I become a little bit more focused on data,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the second thing. How does it impact my business or our company is the 3rd area. And the 4th is, which of those aligned inspirations are impacted by my commitment, my contribution that I make. And we meet on a regular basis, to determine whether or not that person is doing what they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then that leads into what you do, which is, prepping for the exit, prepping for an event, an
Yeah.
a merger, etc.
Yep. Yep. That's good. So it's really interesting. We talked about your stuff before, and one of the things that I really enjoy about it is that you're using quantitative measures.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are not just saying, well, it looks like. You guys are saying it is this, and we've moved from here to there. How do you think that affects the outcomes that you get compared to some of the other ways that people try to do this?
I love that question because I was on a Zoom call yesterday with an organization. You know who they are. I don't want to mention their name, but they have a very large footprint and they do a bunch of certifications. They have these certified practitioners that go out.
Mm-hmm.
They have this process. It's an operating system,
Yeah.
and when they do their core values, it is that it's they have this feeling about what the
Yeah.
core values are. With our system, there is an emotional and an intellectual load that takes place if I say to you, Damon, I think you are a extremely innovative person. Also, you've got this knack of understanding the quant side. You're very analytical, right? And you may be or not be. I'm
Yeah.
taking a guess here. You have this feeling that you get when I use those words. And so what we have is this data of our frontal cortex um, reacting to the words in those four quadrants. So that emotional and intellectual load that takes place is quantitative. It's not just emotional, it's intellectual. Um, and that's what makes the difference. Those words in our survey are weighted, and they're weighted based on where they land in those four quadrants. They're not just feeling words.
Yeah.
It's the way I think.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Big difference.
So as you're doing that, what are some of the things that, I mean, because so you're going to go into these organizations, and this may be the first time they've tried something like this. They know they need to do something, but it's the first time they've tried it. What are some of the things that people do when they first do this survey? They go through the first part and go, okay, here's where we're at. What are some of the comments you get, the discoveries they make just at that initial point?
Well, two things happen. One is sometimes they think of themselves when they're doing the survey. So it's the way they think, not the way they perceive the organization. So we'll have them retake the survey. The other thing that happens, and it's happened a lot. I mean, this is not something that happens every once in a while. It happens often. You'll see the leadership team in one part of the quadrant, and the rest of the company a whole different area of the quadrant. And what'll happen is, as we are having these conversations and workshops, one side will see the point of view of the other, and that's how they coalesce. That's how they come together. I had someone say to me yesterday, in fact, the same guy said to me yesterday, if I have a company of 200 people, how do you get all like we only do workshops of 15 people at a time because it becomes too unwieldy. And you build separate cohorts. And he said to me, well, how do you get all the cohorts to be on the same page? It's like, you have to communicate with everyone as to what the point of view is and why people believe what they believe. And this is not, what I usually, I was a baseball coach in college, and I played. And so this is not about Iorio on my pistolka on the back of our jerseys, Damon. This is about exit your way on the front here. This is who we're playing for. We play for this team. Now, I'm bringing the skill set to the table. I'm not asking you to change anything about the skill set. I'm asking you to do something that enhances who you are to make yourself a better version of yourself each day, and the team a better version of itself. I hope I answered your question.
No, it is. And I kind of thought that, you got leadership that thinks things are one way, but when they really see the whole picture, they realize that their communication, or what they thought they knew, they often don't.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, we did a number of years ago, we did a charter school in Philadelphia, and, schools generally, the teachers their interest is to teach children. The CEO, because it wasn't a principal, he owned, charter schools are, run like a business. And he was very red. He was very like a direct, a driver. And all of his speeches were about that. We did the survey, and the whole cluster of teachers and administrators were in the green area. They were in harmony. They were interested in fairness, teaching, following guidelines, following the rules. And he was up in the upper right. He was like, oh, got to get stuff done. It's all about metrics. It's about the surveys that the state does and everything else. And he wasn't resonating with people. So we do the survey. He realizes that the rest of the team is probably right, and he's not. He delivers this speech to the entire school and all the stakeholders, including the parents, where he never got a whisper from anyone in the prior speeches. He changed the language to green language, more friendly, more open, more communicative, more inclusive. And he got a standing ovation because he changed his methodology and his
Mm-hmm.
language to get people to understand that that's what we're delivering. We're delivering education. It's not about the metrics. It's not about, driving people. It's about teaching.
Yeah. I'm writing some notes here. So, wow. So when you're in there talking to companies like this, working with them, what's a typical timeline before you really start to see results?
That's a great God. That's a great question. We see results pretty quickly, honestly. And I have to be careful here because there's certain KPIs that clients come to us with that are more metric driven.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
more right. That might take a little bit longer. Profitability, certainly valuation,
Mm-hmm.
productivity. But the more um, the more intangible things like the softer skills, communication,
Yeah.
collaboration, breaking down silos, stopping the backbiting. That happens very quickly. That happens early on in the process. So we
Ah,
see that happen first. People start to talk more, collaborate more, because you've got the accountability partners, and then we have these open dialogues in these workshops. So those metrics change quickly. The more the more uh, quantitative metrics take a little bit longer.
yeah. Yeah. Uh, so what do you enjoy most about what you get to do?
Yeah, it's gratifying, obviously, because you get to see people become a better version of themselves, and then the team become a better version of itself. People rely on you. They turn to you for advice. They know that you're able to see things maybe around the corner that they're not able to see because you have a different perspective. Um, Everyone needs to feel needed and wanted, and it feels pretty good when you watch these teams become better, and as a result, they're looking at acquisitions, they're looking at adding more people to the organization because of the growth. um, they're letting people go that really do not fit well on the team. um, that feels good. I mean, that I don't like people leaving. Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
That's not it. It's just that I had a conversation with a woman earlier today, and there's nothing more gratifying, Damon, than to have someone come up to you and say, you know, as a result of this BCAT process, I've learned a little bit more about who I am as a person, and I really want to do something different with my life. And so I'm going to leave. I'm going to do something that I really enjoy, that I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
That feels pretty good.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, we've got Huba's got a somebody comment here. He said, I get the metrics not being used for driving people. That's good. That's really good, I think, because there's certain times they can be used, certain times they can't. But he's also got a question here. He says, can you talk to when metrics are a good way to have an objective measurement that avoids criticizing the person and instead discussing the circumstance or the approach?
Well, Huba, I hope I answered this question correctly, but or to your satisfaction. But um, when there are issues that come up, let's say, and there's behavior that's not consistent with who we are as a team, instead of attacking the person, we'll simply say, is that in alignment with who we are as an organization,
Yeah.
right? And you're not criticizing the person, you're criticizing their behavior. And I'll give you one example. Let me give you an example.
Yeah, great.
We work with an HVAC, a fairly large HVAC company in the northeast part of the United States, and their primary position as an organization is they're experts. They're high quality, very, very smart people. They've got 30 technicians out there. They're all highly educated. And so they're very blue in our model. We have yellow for innovative, red for driver, blue for expert, and green for harmony. So they're very much a blue organization, and then they think outside the box. One of the fellas there, one of the top executives, is very good friends with one of the clients. And oftentimes, Dan gets his relationship in the way of, right, of doing the right thing for the business. So they have this crisis. They order this gigantic not $1 million chiller, but it's a very expensive,
Yeah.
several $100,000 chiller. And he's on the phone with the guy, his client, and they order the chiller, and it gets rigged up from Virginia and starts to get trucked up to the location. And the fella calls Dan and says, stop the process. Now he can't do that. You can't do that. And what happened was rather than Dan saying, I need to get full authority to have this purchased, he relies on this relationship, which is right. And so it wasn't we didn't criticize Dan, we criticized what he did. And so I hope that helps. In terms of how we behave.
Yep, he gave a good smiley face on that one, so we answered it. And I see what you mean too. That is really a big. That can be a big problem, especially when you've got long-term relationships and things like that.
Yep.
But you brought up one thing I was going to ask some questions about. Because a lot of times companies don't spend the time with people to really understand themselves a little bit more so that they can better engage with the team. Do you see that once people are doing these surveys and they understand the team, they understand how they are a bit better, that like the one person you said, they are encouraged to go off and do different things or pursue more personal development work because they see of how, hey, this worked pretty well for what we're doing here. I wonder what I can do if I, do more of this.
Yeah, we see. I mean, we see that all the time. I mean, I've seen people come up to me and say, "I want to become a better person." Right?
Yeah.
What would you suggest? And my backdrop is always, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I mean, that to me is the behavioral Bible of, besides the Bible itself, but
yeah,
the behavioral Bible for how to become a better version of yourself. And to write that personal constitution, to really understand who you are, is very powerful. And yeah, we see that a lot, Damon. Honestly, we see that people are improving at work, and then, wow, I can become a better dad. I can become a better brother. I can become a better son. I can become a better husband. How do I do that? How do I set those goals for myself each day to become a better version of myself in each of the areas that, every one of my roles that I play?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that's what I think, thinking about what you do, how you're helping people with BCAT and really getting these teams aligned and working better together because they're seeing how to do that at work. Hopefully it's driving some personal benefits for them as well to be able to, like you said, strive to become a better person, or it's, if nothing else, what they're learning at work is helping them to be, like you said, a better parent, better friend, better husband, wife, whatever.
Yep. We also see that, I think people get this confused. You go to work happy and then you become productive. In our view, if you're productive at work, if you feel as though your team has your back, your boss you're part of a larger team that that cares about you, and you feel like you're worthy as you get to work, and you feel more productive. That's what lifts you up. That's what makes you happy. And as you do that, you go back home and you feel fulfilled. And so that's cyclical.
That's an incredible observation, because so many people are rolling through their days. They're going to work, they're going home. I'm not happy at work, and then that carries over to home, and it's a cycle.
It's
a cycle.
manifests itself. Exactly. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So, talking about performance, business performance.
Yeah.
You've been doing this a while now. What are some of your real success stories where you go, wow, this company went from here to here and it's not the same place anymore?
I have a lot of stories like that. The one story is a financial services firm that we worked with for 2.5 years, and well, there's two stories I'm going to share with you. This one was that they began to see themselves in a completely different light. They had this old stodgy brand. It was almost 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden they became kind of not new age, but very modern in their approach. And you go into these retail stores now, even now, and they're beautiful. They're beautiful. It used to be where people had papers all over the place and scotch tape on the windows. And now there's beautiful posters, and they've merged with other organizations. They've grown their business. They have a whole different outlook on who they are. When you go into these organizations, the retail establishments, you feel very welcomed. Whereas before, you're like, the carpet's buckled, and I'm afraid I'm going to trip when I walk in, and it looks old and cruddy. And I got yelled at a couple times because in the beginning by general managers who said, "Who do you think you are telling the manager to go replace the carpet?" I said, "Hey, Wayne, when I walk in here, I want this to measure up to the brand image that we're portraying out there." So that was one example. Another one was a senior living institute. We helped change the name of the company, and it was during a difficult time in that market. Continuing care retirement communities are expensive. They're not for just everyday people. They spend several $1,000s a month, and they get all these wonderful amenities. And I said to the president we were playing golf one day, and I said, "Gary, one of these, when we're finished with this, the bank is going to look at you in a different way, because you're delivering on the promise that you make to the world." And they shed some of their non-performing assets, and they've managed to become a much stronger organization. He later retired, and he's happy as a clam, and that place is as strong as it's ever been. And prior to us getting there, Damon, they had a weird name. No one really resonated with them, and so it was a real change, real metamorphosis over a 4-year period.
Yeah, those are great examples. And I tell you, the thing that's really cool about your marketing and communications work in the past shines through this, because you're talking about your promise to the customer, the brand image, and all the stuff that is also very critical in the way you align people and how they work together and how the organizational culture is built. It just pushes and reinforces that brand and delivering on the customer promise.
Brand is everything. It's not just the logo or whatever.
Yeah.
It's the way you behave. It's the way you invoice. It's the way you dress. It's the way you speak. It's the way you design your website. It has to have that level of consistency so that people who, when you make that promise, that's what they expect. When you walk into a Tiffany, or you go to a Ritz-Carlton, you expect high quality. And they work at that. They work at that all the time. But that's who they are. That's their North Star. That's their purpose.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yep.
So we're in a time when there's all kinds of change. People are talking about AI for everything.
Yeah,
it's going to replace this, that, and the other thing. And I think there are definitely some benefits to it. But how are you seeing that AI is affecting teams working better, or things that are coming down the road that might be positive to this from that?
Well, I think AI is it's a tool, and I think if people start to use it in that fashion or that way, I think it'll be beneficial. One of the things that we tried to do, and I don't know, it may be a little bit early in the process. When you write your personal alignment plan or your professional alignment plan form out,
Mm-hmm.
and we recognize that we are more, let's say, more of an innovative company. So when I write my personal alignment plan, I want to make sure that I become a little bit more expressive, uh, outgoing, better listener. How do I write that? I'm not really sure how I write that. I'm a novice. I don't know this process that well. So I turn to AI and I say, I try to get this program to understand that language so that it can help me craft my promise that will better align with who we are as a team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I see this working. Also, when you're writing an email to a colleague or a client, if we can use the AI function to use more language, in this case, this example, that's more innovative, creative, transformational language. There might be hundreds of words that you can select that are synonymous with innovation or creativity. And people have a difficult time crafting a sentence like that. AI can be helpful to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As I'm writing an email.
Well, and that's a great point, especially if your customer is a lot different than you are, or the people in your company are.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to train the AI to sort of match who we are as an organization, but it's a guideline. It's helping us. It's not you have to make sure it's your language.
Yes.
But they're helping you kind of get there. It's a little bit of a roadmap.
Yep. So first of all, there's a question I was going to ask you.
Yes.
So you told me offline, Yankees or the Mets?
Yankees.
What do you like best about the season this year?
They're playing great, man. They're really exciting. They've got some firepower between Soto and Judge, and LeMahieu's back, and they're not hitting right now. They're in a little bit of a slump. They just played the Red Sox, our arch rivals. But you know what? We're getting good pitching, and it's a long season, Damon. It's a long season, man.
Oh, it is.
They were the first to 50 wins. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's cool. So, best memory going to a baseball game?
Mickey Mantle's retirement in 1968.
Oh my goodness! You just pull out one that's in the history books.
Yeah, man. Standing ovation. I was with my father, who's 89 years old now, and almost 89. He'll be 89 in September. But it's like a 7-minute standing ovation. I still have the flyer they gave us when we went to the stadium. Unbelievable.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Whew. So, yeah, geez, that's you just like whoop, we're right for the home run. Yeah, grand slammer.
Yeah.
So, uh, as you're looking forward to the future, what are you excited for BCAT helping teams with alignment and really what you guys have coming down the pike?
Well, that's great. Great. Thank you for that. We are building an LMS system for a winning team. We're calling it the winning team method, powered by BCAT, of course.
Yeah.
And we're going to launch that the next, hopefully, the next month or so on platform called Thinkific. And we've got to build out, the videos and everything. But we've worked very, very hard on this. We want to get it out and to as many people as possible. Uh, get these coaches, consultants, internal folks to use it. And I'm not sure what the price point's going to be yet, but we're incredibly excited about that. And,
Yeah. Yeah. The technology, I tell you, the technology for the LMS systems to really get these knowledge-based programs out to companies is incredible. The leaps and bounds it's made and what it really has done for us as business owners and business consumers of that kind of stuff, because now you can go, what's something that may not have been available because of location, price, lots of other things is available just about anybody.
yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, we're really excited about that.
Yeah. Yep. So as we're moving forward down the road here, what are some of the things that so you've been doing this a while, and I don't want to go down a whole different line, but what are you seeing that's changed like in the last decade or so? You've been doing this quite a while, but really in the last years, what are some of the things that you're seeing as the teams, the makeup of the team, the overall things that have really changed that you go, this is interesting?
I don't know that it's so much the makeup of the teams as that people are beginning to recognize that culture is a really critical plays a really critical role. And I want to clarify this because a lot of people have said, or many people say, culture is very important. The problem is they don't know how to do much about it. And
Yeah. Yeah.
we have a proven methodology to change culture. Culture is not about perks. It's not about putting a ping pong table in your
Yeah.
lunchroom or having pizza Fridays. That's fun stuff, and we would never dispute any of that. That's important. But I think people are finally realizing that we human beings play an important role in the value of the business. We're not to be treated, poorly. We want to be treated properly. And as you build these teams together, that's how you're going to build your business and grow your business, and exit at the number that you're looking for.
Yeah. You hit it on the head. I think is that two things. First of all, I've always enjoyed how BCAT can give you a score or a quantitative view of how well your teams and your culture is actually aligned. I mean, come on, you just said it a while ago when we got started. Leadership thinks we're over here, and the people think we're over here. I mean,
Yep.
what better reason would you want to measure the real truth, underlying truth across it than that?
Yep.
But when you do that, your human capital is so valuable in businesses anymore, because gone are the days of we have a gazillion employees that are just out there. We just replace them like bowling pins and they just do their thing. I mean, we have, when you look at the organizations now, all the way from bottom to top or side to side, everybody's busy, first of all, because of the efficiencies that we need to do. And there's certain skills that they all bring, and nobody's cheap anymore.
That's right. Exactly.
And then, like you said too, for value of the business, if there's an exit or something like that, it's so much of it is dependent on that team and that team's ability to develop and execute the strategies that they need to and perform the way they need to.
And you know, Damon, the other thing too is that with our process, you start to see emergent leaders coming out of out of the system, because once they sit down and have these conversations in these workshops, you start to see people and listen to people who have great ideas. What does that do from a valuation standpoint? What does that do from an acquirer standpoint? And they look at your team and they go, whoa, it's not just the top 2 or 3 people. They got 15 people that can take over this organization or play key roles in the organization. That makes you more valuable. That makes you more, right?
Yep. That kind of depth is huge. Kind of depth is huge. And, it's really incredible how you guys are helping companies do this. And, God, so cool. So, Mark, if someone wants to get a hold of you, what's the best way to reach out?
Well, we've got several things. First of all, you go to the website, getbcat.com, www.getbcat.com. You can contact me via email, mark.iorio, that's IORIO, @getbcat.com. You call me on my cell, 609-577-4306, or you can get me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn quite a bit.
Yep. And your cell phone number's in your profile, and you can get you right there too.
Yeah.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for being here today and talking a little bit about how you at BCAT Partners, you guys are helping teams get aligned, building the right culture, and really improving that performance and increasing value.
Thanks, Damon. I really appreciate you having me. I really do. It's a great conversation.
Oh, anytime, man. Anytime. We'll have to have you come back after you get your new course launched and see how things are going.
Oh yeah, I'd love to do that. Thank you.
All right. Well, I want to just first also thank Huba for dropping the comments in there and the questions. Thanks so much for that. I also want to talk to the people that didn't drop the comments. Listen, if you came in late, go back to the beginning and listen to what Mark had to say. Go check out BCAT Partners, BCAT Partners, and see what they're doing there to help build great cultures and align people for better engagement. So much good stuff happening. Thanks you, everyone. We'll be back again. Mark, hang out for a moment and we'll finish up.